I'd like to call to order the Board of Trustees meeting for May 6, 2025 at 6 p.m. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Supervisor File,
Here.
Clerk Newbeck here, Treasurer Brown,
Here.
Trustee Hayward.
Here.
Trustee Morocco,
Here.
Trustee Nalamothu. Here. And Trustee Tedder.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. The approval of the agenda, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to remove item under regular business L1. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
No, I'm sorry.
No, he needs a
Need a motion
second.
to-
I'll second your motion.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
I'd like to make a suggestion on an amendment also, if it's possible. Can we make regular business number 6 be a discussion about the Township Times paper? Either that or in closed session, I don't care which one, but I'd like to talk about it before it goes into, let's fire it back up again.
I believe we have to vote on Supervisor Files' motion first.
Oh, yeah, that's fine, I don't know, whatever.
So, is there approval to remove regular item number L1?
Support?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
L1.
We have another motion to request a conversation about the Township Times. I would say that let's do that in closed session. Can I get a motion to support?
One moment.
Oh,
I would just say with regards to a closed session tonight, you would need a written
legal
attorney opinion to
opinion.
go into closed.
so we don't have,
We don't have that.
we don't have a MAPE, so how are we gonna do it? So the only thing I could say that maybe to get it done is to have a motion to add a line item for discussion, maybe, after I, and just have it as a discussion item. We can do that, correct?
Correct, you can discuss it in open
Yeah. If you would like to do that,
That'd be great, sure,
okay,
whatever.
okay. So, can I get a motion on that?
1 minute. I don't know that it's necessarily a carryover or postponed agenda item. I think it should be put under regular business.
Well, then it just as a discussion, it's as its own
It can
heading.
still be discussion.
discussion.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll
that's
just put
fine.
it under regular. So,
Okay.
do you have a specific place you want to have it added, or just at the end?
Let's just do it at the end, number 6. Can I get a motion, please? To add discussion of the.
I'll make a
Township Times?
motion to add a discussion on the Township Times newspaper as item number 6 under regular business.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Board and public announcements. Board members and or individuals in the audience may make a statement containing information about a recent upcoming event. We'll start with the board. Does the board, Clerk Carey Newbeck.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize and celebrate an outstanding achievement by Deputy Clerk Courtney Wanafried. Courtney has recently earned 2 significant professional certifications: the Certified Municipal Clerk, her CMC designation, as well as the Michigan Professional Municipal Clerk Level 1 certification. These accomplishments reflect her dedication to excellence in public service and to the profession of municipal clerking. It's worth noting that in the entire state of Michigan, there are currently only 189 certified municipal clerks and 50 master municipal clerks, which underscores the prestige of this recognition. And that's all I have.
Excellent, excellent. Any other board members?
I got a couple. Oh, Paul, go ahead.
Treasurer Brown?
Following up with what Terry had to say on that. Last week, the Michigan Municipal Treasurers Association completed their Basic Institute for this year, and both my employees attended. Our Treasury Clerk, Shonda Simmons, completed her first year for her certifications, and our Deputy Treasurer, Deborah Bader, completed her third and final year of Basic Institute and is now a Michigan Certified Professional Treasurer. I went through this certification process myself a number of years back. It's a lengthy process, requires over 100 hours of instruction and ongoing continuing education. I'm proud of both of them, Shonda for getting started and Deb for completing the process, and I wanted to share that with the board.
Excellent, good. Trustee Morocco.
I want to mention the food truck rally on the 16th has been moved to Pine Knob for the chamber. It's going to be the biggest, baddest one ever. I'll be security at the beer tent if you want to come see me. Always a good time. I think it's our 4th year doing that. I also wanted to just make a shout out to Kim Feigley, our assessor, who recently left us, and just wish her well. She was a dedicated employee for almost 2 decades. She did really, the time I worked with her was impeccable. So hopefully she does, everything goes well for her in the future, and I wish her well.
Okay, great. Trustee Tedder?
All right, just 2 weekends ago, we had the Community Impact Weekend, and there were a number of volunteers specifically that came out in support of the community garden. I think we had upwards of 20 volunteers on the Saturday. Did a phenomenal job. There was, we were gonna come out on Sunday, but there wasn't enough materials to continue because they were so productive on Saturday. But we were able to get back out there again with a number of volunteers last Saturday. They're at present, I believe we have garden plots that have been tilled. They still need to be weeded by the gardeners themselves, but they've been tilled, they've been framed. So we have 10 by 20s and also I think close to 20 10 by 10s. There's a lot of excitement. It looks great, thanks to the Township Parks Recreation team for doing a beautiful job, just keeping it mowed, and it's really becoming a real inviting property, and I'm excited for the other phases that may take shape over in the future. One other thing, we committee did opt to defer the fundraiser till a later date, probably in September. They were going to retool it and make it more of a big tent, family-friendly type fundraiser. And that is it. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Either one? No?
I feel like I should say something, but got nothing.
Okay, I do have some things. I would like to recognize our own Lauren Rinke. She has been nominated for Businesswoman of the Year. She will be sweating it out tomorrow at the meeting to determine whether or not she got that. So I firmly believe if I had a vote, I would give it to you. So good luck there. Also, she was also nominated is one of the top 90 influencers in local governments on a national level through the Engaging Local Government Leaders. So again, congratulations on that. Appreciate that. And finally, I would also like to say, to kind of echo a little bit of what Trustee Morocco said, that I appreciate the time and effort that Ms. Feigley put in as our Director of Assessing, and I wish her well in her future endeavors. Okay.
Supervisor file. I did remember something.
All right.
It kind of slipped my mind. So this past weekend, the Clarkson River Dogs organization had a tournament, which is their 30th year, 30th anniversary of the tournament, and I just wanted to point out the Parks and Recs director and most of the people that work at the parks, because we had a heavy rain Friday night, and Larry and his crew were there 4:30 in the morning on Saturday morning to make sure those fields were ready and we didn't fall behind on the tournament schedule. So I do want to thank Lisa's here and thank your crew and your department for being out there and being diligent to make sure that could happen. So thank you.
Excellent. Good. All right, public comments. After being recognized by the chair, please come up to the podium, give your name and address, and recognize the fact that you will have 5 minutes to speak, and please also remember that the board cannot respond to your comments. With that being said, does anybody want to come up and make a public announcement, comment? The two of you are sure you don't want to? Okay, anybody online? No? Okay, I'm going to close public comments. All right, public hearing, we don't have anything. Presentation reports, we don't have anything. Carryover, postpone, we don't have anything. We're going to move to the consent agenda. So, long one today. All right, so we have item one, request to approve the Board of Trustees regular/closed session meeting minutes of April 15, 2025. Second is request to approve the April 29, 2025 check run, including an ACH for $793,203.62, and ratify the April 11, 2025 payroll for $358,828.26, and April 25, 2025 payroll of $352,883.24. We also have a request to adopt resolution number 2025-016 for the 2025 West Nile Virus and Mosquito-Borne Disease CTV reimbursement program. We have a request to approve the Brady Lodge rental with alcohol for Saturday, June 7th, 2025. We have a request to approve the Brady Lodge rental with alcohol for Friday, June 30th, 2025. We have to approve the Brady Lodge rental with alcohol for Saturday, September 20th, 2025. Request to approve the Independence Fest fireworks display permit and contract for 2025. Request to approve PY 2023 Community Development Block Grant, public service contract with the City of the Village of Clarkston. And request to approve 2025 budget amendment number 8 for the Parkinson Foundation Grant Award. Request to approve 2025 budget amendment number 9 for the electronic poll book purchase. Request to approve 2025 budget amendment number 10 with the DPW labor and benefit cleanup. And request to adopt proclamation recognizing the month of May as a mental health awareness month. Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
One clarification
sure.
before it's approved. Friday, June 20th, not June 30th, so just to correct that on number 5.
Number 5 is June 30th?
20th.
Did I say 30th?
Yes.
Oh, my bad, sorry.
That's okay.
A lot of numbers.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Items removed from the consent agenda, we don't have anything. Under regular business, we removed 1, so we're going to go to 2, which is to request the acceptance proposal and approve the purchase of the fire apparatus for 2025. We do have Chief here if we need to go into the actual explanation. If so,
Yeah.
he's here, let's hear from him.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Is the engine first up on the agenda, or the rescue?
The fire apparatus, so,
I'll start with the fire engine.
yep,
Okay. So to summarize the MAFE, we're looking to get approval to purchase a new fire engine. Each of the 3 stations, just to kind of give you an overview, each station has a fire engine that we call frontline apparatus. Those apparatus are all 2020s. They were all purchased at the same time. And then we have one fire engine that serves as a reserve to all 3 of those. So one of those trucks breaks down or that goes out of service or needs preventative maintenance, that truck's taken out of service and the backup truck is put in its place to run. So the one backup truck is a 2020, so it's 25 years old. It's at its end of its life. And the other challenge we have that when we order a fire truck, takes up to 3 years now to get a fire truck. Once we order it, we won't receive it for 3 years. So we're looking at about 2028, 2029 before we receive that truck, which then puts my reserve truck almost 30 years old. So difficult to work on that truck. It's not reliable as a reserve replace the frontline trucks. So we have a truck committee, and so I don't repeat myself twice tonight with you guys. The truck committee served on both picking out the new rescue and the new engine. But back to the engine. So the same committee, the engine that we're getting is a Sutphen engine. That's the corporation that makes it. The 3 trucks that we purchased in 2020 are all Sutphens. So we went through a whole process, survey process with the department, talking to other departments, other chiefs. We're happy with the Sutphens. We would like to continue with Sutphen Corporation for our new engine. And we're literally kind of copying and pasting the engines that we spec'd out in 2020. This engine that I'm proposing tonight is exactly the same engine because they're happy with the layout. They're happy with the whole, the truck as a whole. So that's what we priced out, is the new Sutphen, and it is under a Sourcewell contract. So both vehicles tonight are under Sourcewell, which is the consortium bidding, and so we're assured the best price for the vehicle. So with that, we did have in the capital improvement in our budget for 2025 to purchase a new engine. And again, the replacement of it, it's $1.9 million. Let me pull that up. $1 million. Get my numbers right. $99,549.89. Speaking with the township supervisor and the township treasurer, Paul Brown, we discussed some payment options. They offered us options that we could prepay the truck anywhere from 25 to 100%. So we chose the 100% prepayment, and by doing that, it reduces the overall cost down $96,210.62, leaving us of a purchase price of $1 million, $3,339.27. That's the option that we would like to choose and move forward with. By doing that, we only budgeted $1 million for 2025 for this truck, so we're short that $3,300 that we would like to pull and get amended from our fund balance from our CIP to cover that other $3,000. Questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you got it's a 2020, a 2000 that is the backup vehicle, a 2000?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you already know which one of the 2020s is going to become the reserve truck?
We'll make that decision once
In
the new
3
truck
years
comes
from
in,
now?
depending on mileage of the engines. We'll look at really, we're gonna look at mileage and maintenance records and probably pull the one out that we think needs to go into reserve to get the longevity out of it at that point, 3 years from now, so.
So what do you think, how long do you think a good amount of time is for the active duty trucks, the mainliners? You know, so should we be, if it takes 3 years to get one, do you feel like in a year or two we should be requesting, you know, newer ones, or do we get 10 years out of them, or?
So just our plan in terms of years, we work between 15 and 20 years on an engine. That's just the simple way to look at it. But then we go into a deeper layered system where we look at maintenance records and different things with that truck to see it may not be a good truck at 15 years. And we have to make a decision then to replace it sooner than the 20 years. But just in general, 15 to 20 years is what we're trying to get out of these vehicles overall, barring any unusual maintenance issues with those vehicles. So
Do you see any issue with making it the 3 years with what we got?
we're going to cross our fingers on that.
Don't really have a choice.
Right?
We ran it a little bit too long, is what it amounts to. It should have been already changed out.
Thank you.
I do have probably a little bit more of a comment than with a question. But my understanding is that in the fire engine manufacturing arena, that a VC firm has come in and has bought the 2 leading ones, consolidated them together, and has jacked the price way up. And it so happens that the Sutphen happens to be the last of the family owned, and that's another reason why you're sticking with it, correct?
Yes, because it's family owned, and also, just so everybody understands, most of the fire departments in this area in Oakland County run with the Sutphens. So it's been a good truck for a lot of different fire departments, and so we're very comfortable going with them.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
quite honestly, our customer service with our current sub-fins has been great with sub-fin, and that's another key component, is things do break down, but can you get them fixed? And we've had great success with them, so.
Okay. And I think also with, you mentioned that Treasurer Brown and I discussed this a little bit, and we figured that taking 10% off the top was a better return than we could get on the funds.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Good idea.
Okay. Any other questions? No?
No.
No? Okay. All right, can I get, I move to accept the proposal received from the Sutphin, Incorporation of Dublin, Ohio through Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Number 113021-606UT as permitted under Section 3, Standard for Procurement, Article 1.6 and 3.1 of the Township Procurement Policy, and approve the purchase of one Sutphin Custom PA02 body pumper in an amount not to exceed $1,003,339.27, and direct the supervisor to sign the purchase agreement as authorized representative of the township. Can I get a motion?
I'll
Well,
support.
That is the motion.
That is the motion, I'm sorry.
Support.
Okay,
Gary
support.
supported.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Thank you.
Hang on. Move to approve the associated 2025 budget amendment, number 11, as presented, which is going to be for the modified for the $3,340.
Support.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's a motion approved. And then also a motion to approve the disbursement when needed to pay for the fire engine.
Second.
Okay, support and second, heard them both. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now we can go to the rescue.
Thank you for that one.
Yep.
Jumping into the rescue, which for everybody, that's our ambulance, that's a transporting vehicle, just so you understand what vehicle it is. In 2024, one of our rescues was involved in an accident where it hit a tree branch, and that truck was deemed totaled out. So we received insurance money for that truck, and which was $178,500. So now we're ready to replace that truck, and we did budget $200,000 in our CIP budget to go along with the $178,500 and to purchase this new truck. So we're ready to make that purchase moving forward. And again, we're just going with the same vehicles that we've had. We're going with the same chassis, changing the box on the back of it. Instead of a wheeled coach box manufacturer, it's going to be a Horton box manufacturer, which is actually a better box system for the truck. Everything else remains the same in terms of the chassis. We'd like to replace that. That takes about 12 to 18 months to come in. And again, the 200 was budgeted to help offset the 178, which we came in at approximately 10,000 less than that overall for the new rescue. So we're looking for approval to move ahead with that and get our fleet back up to, we have 5 rescues, 3 that are frontline, 2 that we use as backup to those front lines, just so you understand. Right now, we're running 4 because we're short 1.
Okay, can I get a motion on this, please?
I'll make a motion to accept the quote received from Emergency Vehicles Plus located at 670 East 16th Street, Holland, Michigan, 49423, through Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing as permitted under Section 3, Standards for Procurement, Articles 1.6 and 3.1 of the Township's Procurement Policy, and approve the purchase of one 2024 Horton Ford F-550 rescue in an amount not to exceed $369,805, and direct the supervisor to sign the purchase agreement as the authorized representative of the township.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd also like to make a motion associated with the 2025 budget amendment number 12 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Right.
carried.
Furthermore, I'd like to move to approve to disperse funds when needed to pay for that vehicle.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Very good, thank you very much.
I just wanted to comment that I really like that you've added in a piece to these where we're also approving for the payment of these things that we've now approved, because in the past, we'd be back again to say, we want to now pay for it, even though you've already approved it. And so I think that's a nice step here to help keep things moving in the right direction and get things done in a timely manner, so
Good,
appreciate
thank
you
you.
doing that.
Yep. We are now on to, was it R3 request to approach? No. Number 4, request to support the permanent consolidation of election day voting precincts from 13 down from, or at 13 to 8 as permitted under MCL 168.658 and adopt resolution to abolish precincts and to relocate the voters. Questions, comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
What will happen to the precinct delegates?
There's no change in
The-
the representation.
That would stay the same until
Mhm.
moving forward,
Yes,
until the 2
until
years?
the next election.
Until the next, okay, that's all. Thanks.
That was easy. Anybody else?
Seems to make sense what you're proposing, less places with
Right.
the new people voting, you know,
Less
or
cost.
online, or what, not online, but early voting.
In conjunction with the 9 days of early voting and absentee, as I had noted in the board packet, the November general election last year is always historically our largest turnout. We had over 80% of our registered voters turn out. Just over 50%, almost 53% voted AV and within the 9 days of early voting. And I only anticipate that that will grow, especially with the 9 days of early voting, as voters become more aware and accustomed to it. So the Election Commission met on April 15th, and we discussed the current numbers, the number of registered voters, the current precincts, the locations, and after careful consideration, the commission unanimously voted to proceed with consolidating from the 13 precincts down to 8. Before you tonight is just support of that action that the Election Commission approved. By law, it's a level that the Election Commission approves. I'm seeking support from the board for that action. But most importantly, the second part of this is to approve the abolishment of the 5 precincts that we're no longer using. That is something that has to be done on the board level. So we have 5 locations: is Harvestland Church, Oakland Woods Baptist Church, the Clarkston Library, the Lakeview Room at our senior center, and I think I said that right. I'm forgetting what the name of the one is at at Clintwood Park.
Senior Community Center?
The senior center is the community center, and then the Lakeview Room at, thank you, Paul, at Bay Court. We're gonna move to Brady Lodge and out of that smaller room, since we're not adding any new precincts, we're just relocating the voters from the precincts that we're abolishing and absorbing them into the current precincts. This is something that's been sent to the state of Michigan. State of Michigan has already adopted our street key changes, so that has already been implemented into the qualified voter file. Next week, towards the end of next week, we hope to have postcards mailed out to all of the households. We sent them to households, not every registered voter, alerting them of the change and that a new voter ID card is coming. And then the following week, new voter ID cards will be mailed out to every registered voter, even those that may not have had a change, because word spreads and people get confused. So that's where we're at. We're excited for the change, excited to hopefully see an increase in our production and our speed on election night with getting things reported back to us, and ultimately getting not just our results, but our paperwork filed with Oakland County. I want to thank Suzette and Courtney and Brian Ottman from our team that have helped immensely in getting this across the finish line, and as well as the Election Commission for approving.
Question?
I think part of the other piece to this was, I just lost my train of thought because you said question, but it was a comment. Oh, that this year we don't have an election in the fall because there have been off years that we've had a special election come up and you need a certain time frame to be able to handle all this, so it was good timing to take this on at this time as well.
Exactly, yeah. The law states we have to have it done 120 days. So not knowing if we would have an August election, I mean, something could pop up. I made sure to try to get this done. Our drop dead deadline for that would have been June 6th. So we're ahead of schedule had an August election been scheduled. And if for any reason in November, we hope not, but we'll be in the clear. Thank you for adding that, Terry.
I just have a clarification. So
Morocco?
you said 5, we were gonna eliminate 5.
4, I'm sorry.
So there's only, so we're going from 13 to 9?
We're going 13 to 8, right?
13 to 8. And just moving Lakeview Room to Brady. Or to Brady. So there's a total of 5.
So that counts as an elimination or just a real, the numbers, it's just, I'm
Well,
not.
we're-
There's 8 you have down here as a precinct numbers.
Correct.
But
We
there's
have
only
8, we're going from 8 to, from 13 to 8,
There's only 4 listed for abolishment though.
because it was the Lakeview Room.
Oh, you're saying, so on number 7, precinct 7, Bay Court, the Brady Lodge, we're just moving it from the previous, same on the property, just a different building.
Correct. Yes.
But doesn't that keep us still at 9 precincts? Something in the math isn't working out for me, and maybe it's just me, because only 4 listed down below that we're abolishing. I get it that we're moving, but then that would mean we wouldn't be eliminating the 5th one.
My map's cut off. Hold on one second. Let me look at the map. So let me see if one of them is
You
not
see what I'm
included. Maybe
Yeah.
Harvest Land, Library, Oakland Woods, Senior Center, and it was the Lakeview Room. Yeah. Hold on one second. I'm looking at the. I think I'm missing one of them.
Do you want me to read the 8 you have listed and compare it to that 13?
Yeah. Let me get it back again.
Well, 10 and 11 were in one location.
Oh, thank you. You're right. Thank you,
Okay.
thank you. Light
Okay.
bulb went off. We had 2 at Mount Zion. We're only having
Okay,
one.
I just
Thank you.
wanted clarification on
That
that,
was
we're
it.
throwing the
Thank
math
you.
off.
Sorry.
Makes sense now? Okay, that's all I have.
Any other Mensa questions? No. Okay, can I get a motion, please, for the Election Commission adoption?
Move to support the Election Commission's adoption of 2025 precinct boundary amendments for the permanent consolidation of Independence Township's Election Day precincts from 13 to 8, effective immediately as permitted by MCL 168.658.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
In Part B, move to adopt resolution number 2025-017 to abolish Precinct 3 located at Clintonwood Park Senior Community Center, Precinct 4 located at Clarkston Independence Library, Precinct 7 located at Oakland Woods Baptist Church, and Precinct 9 located at Harvestland Church, and to relocate voters to existing precincts as presented.
All those in favor?
You didn't get a
No,
second.
sorry, can I get a motion?
Second.
Second?
Second.
Second, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right.
Carrie.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, the next one is to request the authorization to accept the proposal to approve contract and authorize signature. That is not very well written. So what we're really talking about here is to approve the amendment to the Oakland County Sheriff's Department's contract. Nope, sorry, wrong one. This one is to approve the addition of awarding the Kelly firm the tax and legal services. Any questions or comments on this one?
I think I was just gonna comment that I don't think we need that second motion
Right,
because we had already approved that
yeah.
back in February. Motion number 2025-02043.
Right, so we'll be ignoring the recommendation, motion B. So can I get a motion to approve it?
I'll move to accept the proposal received from the Kelly firm of Auburn Hills, Michigan for tax legal services as presented. Approve the agreement between the Charter Township of Independence and the Kelly firm PLC to enter into a 2-year fee-based agreement effective April 1, 2025, with the option to extend the agreement for an additional 1 year upon mutual written consent. The township may terminate the agreement at any time upon written notice to the attorneys for any reason or no reason at all. The attorneys may terminate the agreement at any time upon at least 60 days written notice to the township for any reason or no reason at all, and direct the supervisor and clerk to sign the agreement as the authorized representatives of the township.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me,
Opposed?
Excuse me, roll call.
Oh, is that a roll call? All right, sorry, it is. All right. Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Treasurer Brown?
Yes?
Trustee Hayward?
Yes.
Trustee Morocco?
Yes.
Trustee Alamothu?
Yes.
Trustee Titter?
Yes.
Supervisor File?
Yes,
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Motion carried unanimously.
motion carried. All right. Regular business item number 6, discussion of the Township Times. And I will have to admit, this is the first time I've done a discussion as the supervisor, so I'm not exactly sure the procedure. So I'm gonna ask for some help here. I'm assuming we're still working under Robert's rules that allows each trustee to comment twice on it, not to exceed 10 minutes. Is that correct? Okay. All right, trustee Morocco, since you would like to do it, why don't you start off?
Okay, so I was here at the last year when we voted to discontinue it at the time. And I wanted to ask Brittany what the procedure would be since we had it was a vote to stop it, and would we need to require a vote to start it again?
It would require a vote to restart it. What the board would need to pass is something called a motion for reconsideration, which is the appropriate motion under Robert's rules to bring back an issue previously decided by the board.
Well, it's still his time, so I mean, are you,
No, we can go one item at a time.
okay.
So my question is, the motion actually said, there's more to the original motion,
I can actually pull that up.
okay? And so
Yeah, well,
it said
pull it up.
something about until further notice. Now, when the board passed the budget for 2025, the board passed funding for the Township Times into the supervisor's budget. So the board took an action to fund something. And if you look at the motion itself, would that then mean there is further, if the board didn't want it anymore, it should have been removed from the budget, and it wasn't.
Well,
It
let
was
me pull up
approved.
the motion.
Okay.
And I can read that into the record because I'm not even 100% sure
I
what
can
that
read
motion
the
is.
motion if
You
you'd
have
like.
it?
I have
Okay.
it on my phone. So is that all right, Mr. Supervisor?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Motion 2024-05-087, motion by trustee Morocco, seconded by treasurer Brown to cancel Township Times, subject to contract terms until further notice, with permitting the clerk, other officials, and departments the authority to publish pertinent information. It was a unanimous vote
Gotcha.
in favor of that. So, and I just want to make a quick point on that, is that on the budget thing for Paul, I talked to Rick today about that, why that was left in the budget, and because, we go through a 200-page budget. And he said because there was no addition to it or subtraction to the budget, and it was a steady line, that it wouldn't have been one of the budget items that he would have brought up you know, at the budget discussion because it was a flat line budget number, so it just kind of got blown, in his words, just kind of got passed through. We didn't, at the budget meeting, say, let's keep the money in the budget. It just never got deleted from the budget, you know? And it
Understood.
wasn't discussed at the budget hearing. That's just for clarity.
It does sound like from that motion that you had a contract actually with the Times because you were taking action to terminate a contract.
There's no contract.
There was no
There's
contract?
no contract.
That's interesting. It still remains my position that unless, I mean, I would probably need to speak to Mr. Yeager and get clarification, but in my opinion, a budget, you know, a carryover from the prior year of a prior budget line item doesn't necessarily represent the intent of this entire board to resume those services, so,
So I
Yeah.
would disagree with you. I would
Okay.
say that it was a line item on the budget, the packet was presented, every board member here had an option to review it.
Okay.
They elected not to take it out, so I think that is an affirmative.
if that's the history, if it was the intent of the board to include that, I guess I was a little thrown off by, Mr. Yeager's, I mean, he's not, is he here?
No, he's not
Okay.
here, so.
I guess I was a little thrown off by the statement by trustee Morocco that had just kind of carried over and it wasn't,
But it's still a line
Necessarily
item
the
in the
intent.
packet, still a line item
Okay.
in the packet that was visible,
understood.
and every trustee here had an opportunity to review it. And if they didn't want it, they should have spoken up at that point in time.
Okay, and that is in the same amount that was previously approved as an expenditure to go to Clarkston Times
Yep.
as in prior years?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I guess my recommendation would be the board have a general discussion if they want to continue tonight, you know, as far as what your relationship is with Clarkston News and if there's a majority or not to support going on and continuing to publish with them and considering that budget line item, which it sounds like that's how the township approved that relationship in prior years was through their budget, and discuss if that relationship should continue.
Okay, so if I can, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just kind of reiterate. So what you're saying is that there's not a legal precedent reason why it should be yes or no. It really comes down to whatever the board here decides tonight.
Well, I don't know that the board will decide anything tonight. I think that the motion was just to add a line item to
discussion.
discuss, but
So
if
we
it
can't vote on
seems,
a discussion?
Could?
yeah, you can, but,
Okay.
I mean, if there's a general feeling of the board either way, we want to continue with Clarkston News and we consider that line item budget, perhaps the board reaffirms that tonight, or if the board's general feeling is no, that was not the intent, I'm saying a majority of the board, I'm not speaking for the board, that was not the intent when we approved the budget, and we want to basically, you know, reaffirm that we're not in agreement and that, or, sorry, let me back up. We basically want to reaffirm that we are not going to move forward with the Clarkston News relationship. That could be an option for the board as well. But it sounds like there's some ambiguity with regards to what this board's feeling is on whether they want to continue that relationship or not.
I don't think it has anything to do with, in particular with the Clarkston News.
No, it's not a reflection.
No.
It's not about the Clarkston News.
It has to do with the, okay, if I continue, if I may. So, just some back history from me, because I made the motion to stop it, you know. I felt that it was being used to publicize the elected officials, you know, that we were, you know, it's got their pictures, their names, none of which is relevant to delivering news to people, but that it was being used as a way of self-promotion, which was an issue at the time. And the way the motion was written was that, and I made the motion was because we see the need for Carrie to post things that are relevant. Like if, now personally, as far as the Carrie wanting to post the district changes, I think that the newspaper should run that as a story, that we shouldn't have to pay for that. Because in last week's paper, they ran a page and a half of absolutely useless information of budget adjustments being pulled forward from last year, which was mostly irrelevant and had no, you know, was not really beneficial to anybody, and they ran that as a news story. So I have issues with committing a money to it because they've shown bias in the past to the township, who becomes one of their larger customers, which is another reason why government and media getting in cahoots with each other can lead to things also, was a concern. Because they have neglected to put letters to the editor and things like that were negative towards the township if the township is one of their customers. So I have a concern with that. I think that if we were gonna put stuff in the paper, instead of it being a lot of fluff, it should be stuff letting them know, like rezonings, what's coming, letting them know what's about to happen to them, what ordinances we're working on. To me, that has much more value than talking about everything that got done, which they can get on the website. So I'm not really sure why we're not promoting a digital newsletter or the website, which could be done by a banner in the newspaper, not 5 pages that says, go to the website for information on deck safety or election rezoning. Like, it can be a directive to the digital world, so we're not wasting money with them, would be one suggestion. And that those types of things, that the social media, the website, everything that Lauren's doing is how the word gets out. In my opinion, the residents who get involved in this township, who follow, they're on social media. They're savvy enough to follow it. And one of the things that, when we try to talk about agenda items and be more specific and give more examples to the crowd, a lot of times the feedback is, well, the literature is online. They could find it online. They could go to our website. They could get our meeting packages. They could watch the video. So I think that stands true for this fluff articles that we write, that I think is a waste of money, that we could, all the achievements we're doing, which are huge achievements and should be noted, could be said in public at these meetings, televised, as part of our comment section, so we could let them, the things that we would put in the paper, the supervisor or one of the other members could make those statements so that it was on video and, and able for the residents to also watch from there, along with that's visible on the website. So I just don't feel comfortable with, I didn't then and I don't now, of committing to put in articles that, and being a big customer of theirs, that could affect other information sharing that would be, might be hindered by us being a big customer of theirs, plus the expenditure. So those are my initial thoughts on it.
So you still have
Yeah.
a couple of minutes left.
No, I'm good right now.
Yeah, but that's-
You said I can talk twice. Up to 10
This is your
minutes.
second time. That's why I want to make sure you utilize your time.
I think I got the key points out.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would just add, Trustee Morocco, for clarification, that there are numerous things under state law, particularly under planning and zoning enabling acts, that require our clerk to publish in a newspaper of general circulation, and generally that Clarkston News does qualify. So there are, a lot of township ongoing business that does get published in the Clarkston News, and it's my understanding that it was not the intent of that motion, you can correct me if you disagree, but the intent of that motion to exclude that kind of activity in the Clarkston News. I think the issue
No.
was the election
And there's a separate
activity.
budget item for that in the newspaper budget. So this budget number that slid through that we didn't say anything about is not the budget that we use for notifying ZBA, public announcements and all that. That's a separate line item in the budget for media that's required for us to do those types of things.
All right, I just
Just so
want to
you know.
ensure the board understands those are,
Yep, and those
Two
are,
separate
just, I
items.
checked that with
Okay.
Rick today before the meeting to make sure those were separate, that we weren't cutting that by saying we don't maybe want to commit to this.
okay.
Treasurer
I want to share that we have an aging population in the township. And I talk to residents at my counter regularly, not just older folks, but folks, my age, who don't go on the computers at all. And so I think that's one of the reasons the Township Times was perceived by our residents as a really good thing when it had good content in it. And I don't think we need to talk about, why there was bad content back before. The board took action based on those things. I think I seconded the motion. I didn't like that. But for a number of years, that was very well received with, I think, excellent communication. I know for me as a treasurer, if that's not there, I'll be buying a full page 2 or 3 times a year to put information out about the tax bills coming out and help residents understand their tax bills. I think the board will remember some of those that I put out that again, were very well received because people call me and say that was helpful. And so I do think there's a place in this community still for a hard copy communication when it's pertinent information and not done simply to fill a page. I 100% agree on that part. And in fact, I am not even putting anything in the current one that's going to come out because I didn't have anything I needed to communicate. So handle it right. I think it's a great thing, and that's all I have to say.
Was it in-
Yeah, I have a couple things. I was here when that passed, and one of the problems were I was against, us continuing to spend money to do that. It's before I was a trustee. And I felt it was being utilized by somebody, everybody, didn't matter, it was an opportunity to be utilized as self-promotion. I'm not opposed to having some of those things, and I know that we post regarding, that we have the required things. If we're gonna spend money for that, I would like to see the articles written in such that they don't particularly come from anybody. It comes from the board, say, this is what's happening in the township, just like a newspaper would write an article. If we have to start writing our own articles to tell, people what's going on at the township, instead of the Clarkston News doing it for whatever reason. I do see some of them that they do right. But I don't think that it's important that it comes from necessarily to have pictures in there from particularly anybody's office with names. I think that it would be better suited also to put into layman's terms some of the opportunities and the things that are coming up with meetings when it comes like the Red Barn issues coming back up. Those are the things I would prefer us to start telling people. If I look at it as somebody outside of this, to say, I want to know what's going to happen to me, not what already happened to me. I would use that opportunity to spend that money to let people know something they can understand instead of a clip in the, public notice in the want ads or whatever that, might not be easily as seen. So we do have some big things that are coming up. Some of the things that we are working on. I'd like to see some of those things, where people can have an opportunity to really, that we're advertising to them to say, hey, this is what we have coming up. If you want to talk about it, then now is the time. Because what ends up happening most of the time, and as you know, and myself included, I've come up here and complained about things that it was too late to complain about. Most, whatever development project that we had that's already been passed, you see some trees come down, and then what are you going to do? It's too late. It's already happened. So I would like to see, if we're going to spend that kind of money for those things so we can prevent the residents finding out about things too late because they didn't see the public notice. And so we kind of put it into layman's terms for them, if we're going to do that. But, I was against it when I wasn't on the board. Don't think it's a great idea. I don't think it's a good opportunity to spend our money that way if we're going to do it. And I do have the same concern, and I did when I spoke, which is if we're spending a large amount of money with the Clarkston News and then we become their customer, what are they going to post or not post, or whatever, how they write their stories, or if somebody wants to write a letter to the editor that may be negative to us, are they going to do it? Are they going to post it? So that's all. Thank you.
I believe in our previous discussion over this, it wasn't just, we were canceling the weekly stuff. And I believe we did discuss if there is something major that needs to be in there, we talked about putting it in there. So it wasn't a complete, we're canceling, it's over, there's never anything coming from the board again, or the supervisor, or anything. It almost like it was open-ended, but we didn't want to be in a contract where they guaranteed this money being paid from us every single week. I think I still pay for the Clarkston News. I do both. I'm all over internet, social media, but I like my newspaper. And for those who do, I don't think it should be taken away. But we need to be frugal on what we're spending it on. It should be important, informative information. We talked about if we were gonna put something out there, we leave it black and white print. It's not colorful, it's not pictures, all that extra fluff wasn't necessary. But we did discuss having times where stuff should be in there, so I'm for it, and maybe it is something, if it's easy to get those articles for us to review quickly, to just say, yeah, we think this is good, or maybe change this a little bit, or we think it's too fluffy, or like you said, self-promoting somebody. But, you know, look at today, look at the employees we were promoting who did great jobs. What's wrong with putting them in there? I think that's fantastic when you have people working here that want to better themselves and they're committed. Stuff like that needs to be recognized, and not everyone does watch our meetings. So I'm all for it. I think it would just need to be something that's better looked at, and we're more frugal with how we spend our money.
I agree. I mean, I have mentioned over and over that I think it needs to continue, not just for the election articles that come from the clerk's office that are in there, but I have residents that tell me that they read them. There's even residents that still get the subscriptions that don't even live in the township anymore that I've run across, that they look forward to reading about what's going on here. I kind of like Terry's idea about adding some of the additional things like we've mentioned here tonight with the employees and some of the awards. I think Lauren puts a lot of that stuff on social media, but we have a large population that doesn't go on social media, and they don't know some of the things that, so that I think is a great idea to highlight some of that stuff. I don't have a problem with not having pictures in there. I think it's helpful if, depending on what department it comes from, that at least the director's name or the department, because if someone has a question and they're not sure or they want to inquire, know more about it, who do they go to? I have no issue without having pictures, but it's not just the elected officials' pictures that are in there, it's also the department heads. And that has historically been that way since I came in 19. We did not have a contract before. We, to my knowledge, unless Supervisor File says differently, there is not a current contract now. So we are not locked into any amount. I will say that I priced out doing things separately with my election stuff after we made the change. Me putting things in, which I did not budget. Because things fell under the, we had budgeted under the Township Times, but things cost more for me to put them in outside of the Township Times, we get a discount. So whether we do 2 or 4 pages, I made comments prior years that I agree, I don't think that we should be paying the money for what I called fluff, which would be fillers when we couldn't complete, let's say 4 pages or whatever. I think it needs to be pertinent, current information, and maybe not such as want ads, but I do think that it's important. I think we should continue. And I myself even look forward to reading it as I do all the other things that are in there about the other areas. I still hold the paper and read the paper. I can't tell you the last time I went online to read the Clarkston News online, and I'm on social media as well, so. If we need to make a motion to reconsider, to make a motion to proceed, I will be in favor of continuing the Township Times.
Okay. So having the list, oh, sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead,
Okay.
Trustee Ted.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that I share the sentiment of all the board members who clearly want proper communication, thorough communication, and certainly all the things we're obliged to share with the residents. That shouldn't and hasn't changed, in my understanding, since eliminating the Township Times. The thing that was most disappointing to me, and I had a cordial conversation with Supervisor File earlier, the most disappointing thing to me is that I had to read about the great news that the Township Times was coming back as a township resident who subscribes to the Independence Township Facebook page. And this was a 7-0 vote less than a year ago, because this format this is more of a glossy, glitzy People magazine version of Independence Township business versus the nuts and bolts of keeping residents informed. I also think it's a very expensive approach, and I know from the sounds of all the comments so far, there's differing viewpoints on whether or not we should bring it back. And I'm of the side that until I am convinced that this is going to be focused on business, focused on content, and not focused on self-promotion, then I'm against it. I am fully for, and I ran on and continue to fight for transparency and honesty, and that's why I think us articulating our opinions at these board meetings is critical. So that's number one. Can I be convinced that we reformat this and look at a different approach? Absolutely, but I'm of the opinion that we need a proper legal opinion, not just sort of on an impulse, that I would want to give our trusted attorneys time to look into this, or if it's the will of the board and we want to vote up or down with what's on the table, that's fine too. At least we're all on the record with respect to where our opinions are, and maybe that's where we're going to end up going tonight. So again, I'm not convinced that this is the most proper and efficient way to use township resources to get important information to our residents. But again, my biggest reluctance is that we didn't have this conversation on the front end rather than on the back end, and finding out through public channels that this was going to be, or at least proposed to be, a thing again.
All right, a couple things here I would like to point out. One is that because it was already budgeted, and there's no contract, I did not see where technically it had to come to the board. It was not even brought to my attention. That should be an option, something that should happen. So if anybody wants to put any blame, you can put it on me for not bringing it out to the township. I got with Lauren, and we decided to move and get things going. So, there was no ill intent, okay? It was just that it was already budgeted. I figured it was an option. Let's go. There's some things we could do. There's a lot of great things in the township that are happening. The newspaper reaches a different segment. I've shared before that before this election, I was never on social media. And I always got it from the newspaper. That's part of my Saturday morning ritual. So I do believe it reaches a group that does not always live on the internet. Second thing is that when I talked to the Clarkston News, I told them we're not doing a contract, we're not committing to minimum number of pages, and we're doing it only on a monthly frequency. So a lot of those things, 'cause I think I was sitting in the audience, it must have happened sometime between the primary and maybe the general, that whole issue came up, and I took away from it that it was because of the self-grandizing and all that. That was the big reason why it was to stop. So to that point, I believe that, while I believe it's a good avenue to communicate what's going on, I do hear and agree 100% it should not be self-promoting. Okay, Lauren will back there, she'll attest that I tell her I don't even want to be in it. I told her point blank, I didn't even want to be in it. But there's some things just from my office that happens that does need to be communicated. I think what we really need to do is probably go through and, have maybe a small couple people, one or two people on the board, review, work with Lauren on the content to make sure to kind of scrub it, to make sure that it's not being politicized like it had in the past. I think if we do that, then I think we're starting to solve a lot of the issues. One, we're not constrained by a $36,000 a year type commitment. We're based on what the need is. We have an individual or the board will then have a committee that will review the content to make sure that it is newsworthy and relevant, not fluff. As far as the Clarkston News goes, I can't say, and nor can any of us, say whether their value system is such that if you advertise or don't advertise, you're going to get positive or negative comments. I don't know. And I don't think we can even sit back and say one way or the other. I know we would all hope that regardless of what we do, they're always going to be forthright and truthful, right? So from that standpoint, I think that point, it's out of our control. The other thing that probably the last point that I would want to make on this is that while I hate again, I will use Lauren because she is our public relations person. I tell her all the time, I don't want my picture in things, but I will share with you that it is becoming more and more common because people do see my picture, they come up and start asking questions. I think if the same can be held true of anyone on the board, if they go through and do things like I can see in the future, Sam, you doing one for the DDA and having somebody now, well, you're, probably everybody would recognize you anyways. But the point is that, you know, there's some of us who aren't as famous as Mr. Morocco, Trustee Morocco, that facial recognition does help in every day-to-day communication. So I would say, and I would be more than happy if we say that the board does not have their picture in there, ever, but I think they do need to know where it's coming from, who's doing what, going back to your transparency thing there, Trustee Tedder. But I think at the same token, it's still of value to have recognition for the employees or the directors. So I think from that standpoint, having their picture in there is not a bad thing, especially since it seems to me that in the past, the main reason is that we didn't want to use it as a political campaign platform or distribution system. I would like to actually go through and make a motion to keep it or turn it down here tonight.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, I guess, just my opinion, if we take the pictures off and we take all the big headlines of the names and we make it the supervisor's office, doesn't mean you can't have contact Chuck file at, at the bottom or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't need to be the
Yes.
headliner. Pictures of the staff is good. What I saw off the first edition was what I refer to the fluff is that the stormwater management letter from Dave McKee, Dave Moran's deck maintenance. Okay, those have been running for years in the township. That's filler to me. I think that you could get away with 2 less pages by putting in a thing directing them to the township's website for those things. Like, I don't think that there's a big market for deck maintenance for the people who don't know how to use the internet. Okay, they're probably not fixing their decks. They're probably, maybe a little aged out of the deck fixing thing. I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff that could go both ways, in my opinion. One is pertinent information, updates of things, stuff we certainly got to do, and an expansion of that to stuff like Dave was talking about, kind of a little more layman's terms of, hey, this is coming down the pipe, and that can be part of your your analysis or your update, from the supervisor's office if you feel so much. But I think some of the other pages of those things could be directed to Lauren's media on the webpage or on Facebook, so they don't take up the advertising. And you could even put more of that, letters to that. And then once they start getting used to referring to that, there'll be a library on the website or whatever of safety articles or articles that were in the Clarkson Times, or you know what I mean, and build that library up. So I think there could be a compromise of pertinent, and then not to don't put out articles of deck safety, but they may not need to be. Those may not need to be in print, in my opinion. Those could be a banner or a ribbon on the paper direct as part of ours, directing them to those pertinent articles, possibly, to just reduce some of the pages down. I appreciate Paul not just putting one in to put one in, which is good,
Good.
I'm done.
Okay.
My final comment, is that I think this board, if we took a vote right now, it would be 7-0 to not have fluff in there, and of course, having that kind of stuff, and I'm talking political fluff really, was the main issue, but also just trying to fill stuff, right? We don't want to do that. And I think that message is already loud and clear. And I would hope that the board, given that we've got some new leadership at the township and an excellent public information officer who I think has been doing a great job, and I would just ask for the board to offer some trust. You have the 3 full-time electeds who I think we hear what you're saying about what this should be, and to give us a chance to do it the right way. It can come back after the first edition goes out, or let's say 3 months down the road, you see the thing slipping, it can come right back and be yanked out. But I would just ask that you put some trust in us. And I do also apologize. I've been around long enough. When he brought this up to me, I should have said, we should go back to the board, and I didn't. He was new. He wasn't on the board when we stopped this. I was, and I regret not pushing to do that, and I didn't. So I apologize to the board for that. But I'm just asking you to consider giving us the trust to do what we've all been talking about, which was good content, communication that's needed to the public, and nothing else. That's it for me.
Trustee Tedder?
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page here, and thank you, Treasurer Brown, for acknowledging, I think, what was the real crux of the issue here. It's less about the issue, the times itself, because we all agree about good content, keeping residents informed, but I'm a little disappointed by the loophole. I'm going to call it a loophole because I've heard no legal opinion that states a line item in a budget warrants moving forward with something that was contrary to board vote. So I'm hopeful that we don't use that rationale in the future, because our budget meetings are going to be 8 hours, I promise you, because myself alone, I'm going to be asking lots more questions, because if I have to be that careful that a simple line item in a budget negates a 7-0 vote, rather than, hey, board, we have new leadership in town, new vision, we want to bring back the Township Times better, more informed, let's do this. You would have had a 7-0 vote, and we wouldn't be talking about this. I believe that.
Yeah.
So one more thing, and then I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Supervisor. If there, I expect a motion here. I like the idea of having, and we can rotate, we can delegate or appoint 2 trustees to just work with Lauren. Here's the content. What do you guys or gals think? I think that will go a long way in just creating that balance and really collaboration, because maybe there's an opportunity for us to say, hey, Supervisor Fowle, you forgot about this. This would be a great addition too, and giving us the time to be able to make changes and focus all this in a positive direction.
I just want to go on the record to say it, and I'm okay with photos of the directors and people that were highlighting as far as their accomplishments. It was more of elected officials. That was all, for photos, as far as that goes.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions, comments? Then I would like a motion to continue with the Independence, what is it called again?
Township Times.
Township Times, and have 2 members of the Board of Trustees to review any content before it goes out. Yeah? Can I get a second?
And
Well,
specifically trustees, I know that's what you meant, but not
full-time electeds.
non-full-time, or, because you, the 3 of you will be assembling most of the content, so it'd be 2 of us.
It'll be her, but yeah.
Well, yeah, 2
two
of us,
trust-
you'll be working with her, and then we would provide some.
Yes, 2 of the trustees.
would you amend your motion to put in there the elimination of elected officials' pictures, but you can use their title?
I don't think we need to do that. You've already told us that. We're not gonna have, you won't see our pictures in there. I'm just saying, that's a trust thing, right? We're not putting our pictures in it.
I'm looking at the supervisor.
The committee is going to be reviewing it, so
yeah, but we're going to be, yeah.
the committee would.
I would like to say that.
I know, I mean, but that's one of the biggest sticking issues, so I think we should just clear it up, not send it out and then go, oh, there's a picture in here, let's we're not wasting
So,
time on this thing.
I think this, things might change in the future. You might have a different board. So it's possible that you could benefit from maybe a 1 or 2 page policy that just sets forth the general, what was discussed today by the board. That way, if there's changes or there's a different opinion of what was discussed today maybe, or there's a change to the board down the road, we have a written policy we can refer to. That's an option.
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Again,
So, can I make a motion?
go ahead.
He already made one.
Well, I made one, but I want to amend it to add that the elected officials will not have a picture in the Township Times.
And we'll present a policy at a future meeting, you know, within the next couple months for the board to review.
Like it.
I'll second the motion if I'm not picked to be the thing. I'm not a, I'm not a good writer. I don't want to be the review person, so.
Okay.
I'll volunteer. I'll take a
Okay.
step forward and I'll volunteer. So,
Okay. Do I get a second?
She
I
did.
just
Oh,
seconded.
you did second, I'm sorry. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Good, that was good. All right, next on the agenda. Closed session budget session, study session. There isn't anything, communication, future agenda items. We have a report from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office for March 2025. There was a building department, April 2025, and the election commission on October 8, 2024. Board member comments, any parting comments? Treasurer Brown?
I just want to thank the board. I like what happened with this. We had some very divergent opinions of it, and I think in the beginning here, I think most people would be betting that a vote on this wouldn't come anywhere near 7-0. And I really appreciate the trustees voicing their opinion, and I do think it's important to listen to the board, because ultimately, and I've said this for 12 years, the board has a voice, and when we all listen to that voice, and then we work to try and fulfill what's expected, it's a really good thing for the residents, and so I appreciate you guys trusting us.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Comment? I would like to second Treasurer Brown, that, you know, it is nice to know that we can have civil conversations and maybe disagree in the beginning, but I think directionally we're on the same page in the execution of what we want to have happen. So from that standpoint, I do appreciate everybody's opinion here, and I think we probably just made it better. So I thank you. All right, with that, we'll adjourn. Oh, wait a minute, so can I get a motion to adjourn? See, almost.
Move to adjourn?
Okay, all those in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Aye, we're adjourned.
He's been eager to make